do you read mostly, you kind of said at night, during the day? Like, what is your preferred reading time?
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, my preferred is all day, every day. If I could, if that could be my job,
Hmm.
I would just curl up with books from morning till night. But no, I tend to just read at night, like climb into bed. It's my ritual. Climb into bed, pick up my book, and read until I fall asleep.
Yep.
Um, that's to me, like, I don't understand how everyone in the world doesn't do that because it's the most
Yeah.
soothing way to send yourself
Yeah.
off to
And
sleep.
do you reread then too, or no?
I do, I have my comfort books, and they're
Okay.
usually books from childhood or books from
Mm.
various periods in my life where I literally use them to escape as comfort. So like
Yeah.
the Kate Daniels series is a fantasy series
Okay.
written by a husband and wife duo who go under the pseudonym Alana Andrews. Very popular series, but
Okay.
if you're not, they're like OG urban fantasy, like OG romantasy. Um,
Okay.
and it's this whole series, I want to say 8 to 10 books, something like that. And when I was in grad school, I started reading those books during a very difficult period where I was trying to figure out if I wanted to stay in academia or go elsewhere. Um, and it was a hard decision because I just spent 6 years in a PhD program training to be in academia. So it felt risky to like
Hmm.
shoot my shot somewhere else. But reading those books, I ended up staying. I was at this summer seminar and I was supposed to be going into my seminar courses every day at this college that I was at that I won't name because I don't want them to be mad at me because ended up skipping these seminar courses to read this fantasy series.
Wow.
And that's when it really hit me that had fallen out of love with academia
Mm.
and my heart was elsewhere. And it's so weird nowadays, reading that series produces that exact same, like releases the same feelings of comfort and excitement. So it's like little time capsules.
Yeah. Oh, how nice. So do you
Yeah.
go through then the whole series again?
I do. Yeah.
Oh
I
my
recently
gosh.
did my reread. Like, I
Wow.
want to say I finished it maybe 4 months ago of the series. And I was just like, oh, mwah, chef's kiss. Like, hold
So
up.
do
It's so good.
you, what does your reading look like when you're writing those books?
So I'm not one of those writers who has an issue with like creep,
Okay.
like or worrying about um like I guess regurgitating or being influenced by
Yeah.
books that I'm reading in the same genre. Um that doesn't really, because like I said, I in our previous, so I'll say it again
Yeah.
for these listeners. I write all my plot at the beginning in these really detailed outlines. And so it's I kind of already have my books established, and yeah, I'm just not worried.
Yeah.
I don't have that issue. um but what my reading always looks like is my blurb list. Like, I don't make my TBRs anymore. I
Okay.
haven't for years since I've become a writer and have started receiving blurb requests.
Hmm.
Um, and I really like saying yes to blurb requests because I know how awkward and
Yeah.
hopeful it feels to be on the other end of that
Yeah.
question. So I say yes to a lot of books, which means that every month I have like between 5 to 8 blurb books to read.
Wow. Okay.
Not last month, March, I had 10 books to read for blurbs alone, which meant that it's been a long time since I've picked up a book
Okay.
that was outside of my blurb
Okay.
list.
Well, let me tell you, when we get to the part of me recommending books for you,
Uh-huh.
let's hope you get to a chance to read them, you
I
know?
mean, I will, but luckily for me, I recognize book purchasing and book reading as two
Oh,
separate and equally important categories. So you
mm.
best believe I'm supporting all my like friends and colleagues by purchasing their books. Whether it's going to take me a long time to read them is another
Or not. Yeah.
story.
And
Yeah.
so what are some of the things then that like you look for in a book, whether it's a trope or like a theme, like what kind of draws you in?
Do you know that I like hate tropes. Um I hate I mean, like, obviously I love tropes, but I hate talking about tropes and describing books in terms of tropes.
Hmm.
And it's been this recent thing where I just feel like this oversaturation with tropes.
Okay, yeah.
It's like so much of the romance conversation, it revolves around tropes, and I feel like sometimes it does books a disservice and reduces them to tropes when
To an
there's
enemies to lovers, to a
right,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
When there's so much more going on and it's so
Yeah.
much more nuanced and layered. So this has been a very recent thing for me to
Yeah.
like have this weirdness sitting in me when it comes to trope conversations. And I think like a lot of romance writers don't share that opinion whatsoever and love tropes and like
Yeah.
totally understand that tropes are a really easy way for readers to find like, oh, I know this story is going to gel
Hmm.
with me because I love this dynamic. Like I totally get
Yeah.
that. So this is a very idiosyncratic thing for just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I what I look for in a book is action right off the bat. Like it has got to hook me, whether it's whether it
Yes.
well, I guess I'll rephrase that. I'll just say hooking me right off the bat. Because
Yeah.
whether it's something is immediately happening that I'm interested
Hmm.
in, or that voice is leaping off the page and
Yes.
it's like hooking me and I want to follow that voice and figure out more about them.
Hmm.
But it has to happen super fast, has
Yeah.
to be consistent. And so if you do that, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether your book is fiction or nonfiction, doesn't matter science fiction, romance, I will follow you anywhere. I'm
I agree.
agnostic. But as long as it's doing that thing of hooking me,
Hmm.
oof, gotta do it.
Yes. I agree. I'm the same way. And I get very disappointed when like it starts off so strong and you get about like
Mm.
30 or 40% in where you're at the point where something is supposed to happen or it's supposed to there's a something is supposed to happen, whatever that is, and
Like
it
deliver on the
doesn't.
promise that it's been setting up.
Yeah. And you're like, and it could even just be like the beginning of the setup and it just doesn't deliver. Like it starts off really strong and then it just like plateaus. That kills me, especially when you get so far into it. Like I said, 30 or 40% in, and you're like, do I finish this? Because I really want, like, I started with such high hopes
Yeah.
that I want to finish, but like, do I?
See, I will say that I actually prefer books like that to the books that just don't.
Really?
Yeah, that like when people say that, oh no, just keep reading. The last half is the best. It really picks up and gets going. I'm like, sorry, don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Can't like maybe it is gangbusters and fireworks in the last half,
Yeah.
but I'm just never gonna get there.
Yeah.
And at least with the book, the way that you described with the strong first half,
Yeah.
I will put it down. If I start to get bored for like 2 or 3 chapters consistently, I'll move on.
It's fantasy.
Yeah, it's like fantasy in the way of Narnia, you know? It's like fantasy and like there's this I want to say it's like a watchtower that gets delivered to this kid. Um,
Are you talking about the Phantom Toll Booth? No.
yes.
Oh my God, I
Yes.
love the Phantom Toll Booth. That's one of my favorites.
I was totally getting it wrong.
From the beginning, I was gonna suggest that, and I was like, that's not a watchtower. But then
Oh,
like
you
delivered to
nailed
a
it,
kid, and I was
Kendall.
like,
Thank you.
the Phantom
That
Toll
would have
Booth.
bothered me so much.
Yes, that's one of my favorites from a kid. I still like have my copy.
Oh, I wish I did.
Good
I
one.
might purchase one just so I can have it. But yeah, if I could both revert back to 8 years old, wipe the
Mhm.
memory of that book, and then read it again, I was so
Yes.
enchanted by that.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
from what I remember, it like helps you understand grammar and
it,
English.
I think it does. As
You
you
know?
can tell by that and my like, you learn about philosophy in
Yeah.
Sophie's world. I really liked to like learn
Yeah, yeah,
things
yeah.
and like,
You're an academic who
I
knew.
yeah. Guilty. Yeah.
Now, do you think that the book is always better than the movie?
No.
Oh, okay. I guess I
Um,
should have expected that from somebody who maybe wanted to like do some screenwriting.
yeah, yeah. I think that the book is often better,
Okay.
um, because you can capture so much more, just more.
Yeah.
When you love something, you want more of it, and
Yeah.
books give you more. But I think that there are some examples, like for me, and I say this as like a deep, deep Tolkien fan,
Hmm.
but I think that the Lord of the Rings movie series might
Mm.
be even better, or at least as
Ooh.
good as the Lord of the Rings books. Now that's gonna get some hate mail
I was
sent.
gonna,
That is a very
I was
controversial.
gonna say.
And my second one is I'm actually gonna steal, if you know Abby Endler, who is Crime by the Book on
Okay.
Instagram. We were talking about this, and she actually had an answer that totally shocked me, and then I realized she was totally right, which is
Okay.
Gone Girl
Is better as a movie?
is better as a movie.
Oh, interesting.
I
It's
know.
so funny you said that because my last season, I interviewed two different people who said Gone Girl is one of their favorite books, especially in like introduction to mystery thriller. I had only seen the movie and it was incredible. And I
Yeah.
had not read the book, and I just read the book. And I wish I had read the book before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I also know that like the experience I had watching the movie was so just jaw on the floor and it was brilliant. So it's such a toss up, but that's interesting that you say that. Tell me why.
Okay. So, but first of all, the book is brilliant. Like no holds barred. It is
Yeah.
absolutely a masterpiece of psychological suspense, and it Gone Girl and is the reason why I'm here,
Hmm.
because it opened up a marketplace for
Yeah.
female driven psychological suspense. So let's just get all that out on the table.
Yeah.
Brilliant book. But I think that there's just, and this is true for some books that are just so cinematic in the
Mm.
story and the characters. I think that movie version was so perfectly cast, with Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike as the
She
titular character.
was
As yes,
she was fantastic.
right? I mean, as Nick and Amy, they just brought they were like born to play those characters. They played them so perfectly, and it brought so much more like nuance and understandability and relatability to these characters. And I just think that it's a book, and for the record, I liked the book versions of her other like Sharp
Mm.
Objects and
Yeah.
Dark Places. I like the books better than the adaptations. But I think they just really nailed it with Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Um,
I always think that mysteries and thrillers really are those are the ones I want to see on screen. Like I
mm,
think a lot of times I'll get disappointed with fantasy. I think there was a time period in which something like a dystopian novel like Hunger Games came to life beautifully on screen.
yeah,
I don't know that I've seen it, and like Maze Runner, Divergent, all those when that those came out were great. I don't know. I can't think of that many amazing ones now.
yeah.
Um, no shade,
Literally, it's
but
only like
yeah,
Hunger Games as
yeah,
it persists into recent
yeah, no
movies.
shade to Uglies that recently came out on Netflix, but like
Oh,
that movie adaptation was like not as great. And I think that then mysteries and thrillers, when they come out, like when Big Little Lies came out on TV, to have it be episode by episode is like such a brilliant way of telling those kind of stories and leaving people on the edge of their seats. I
yeah.
also think your book, The Last Housewife, would be really good in a series kind of way, because I do think by how evenly matched the way you write plot and characters is, we could get an episode kind of looking deep into each character, and probably your most recent novel too, like This Book Will Bury Me. We could do that the same, but I don't know if it would
Mhm.
like tell us more than we need to know,
Yeah,
until the end.
yeah, yeah.
But The Last Housewife, I think that would be a beautiful way to like set up these characters, and then you look back at the past and then present. And I think there's a way that certain thrillers are done cinematically that I think really bring it to life in that way.
Thank you. And it's funny you say that because that out of all my books, that's the one that's made it farther in the farthest in the adaptation process.
Mm.
So that's the one where they have the series written, like a
Mm.
limited series. All the episodes have been
Ooh.
written. So fingers
Oh,
crossed.
fingers crossed. I do
Fingers
think
crossed.
in my dreams, I hold a knife. I think that one would also do
I
well.
I think so too. I'm kind of trying to push that a little bit because
Yeah.
I really do think, and I do think you could do since there's like a nice big cast.
Yeah.
I think you could do a similar thing where you could hang out with different characters in different
Like,
focalization points across
yeah.
episodes as the plot
Yeah.
moves forward.
And you would be able to see, I think, for that one, like you could play out the past in college and like really build those relationships and friendships in a way that like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
would
think
love
that
that.
it would remind me of what's the show that has gotten so much notoriety and I can't watch
Tell
it
Me
because it makes
Lies.
thank you. I can't watch it. It brings I read the book. I can't watch
Mhm.
the show. It brings me too much anger and frustration
Mhm.
and drives me bananas.
Hmm.
But I think similar to that, it could be written kind of like that, I
Um,
think.
and yeah, this is like the really beautiful thing about blurbing is you get all these books really early that
Yeah.
you're excited to read.
Let me tell you, I love my NetGalley. Love it.
Yes, it's the
Love it.
best gift. I try to tell everyone about NetGalley.
Love it. Wow, those are all three great. I love it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I am blessed since they're
Yeah.
all from my blurb list.
Yeah. And all ones that you would read on your own. Like you said, it's just
Exactly.
a gift.
It's just a
Great. I'm
gift.
so
Yeah.
glad. And where can everybody find you and where can they get your books?
Yes. You can find me hanging out a lot when I shouldn't be on Instagram at Ashley Winstead Books. And or my website's ashleywinstead.com. And you can find my books wherever books are sold.
Mm-hmm. And if you want a signed copy of your books, where should they
Right.
go?
For signed copies, go to Murder by the Book. They ship
Great name.
everywhere. I know, isn't that? It's perfect. They're my
Mhm.
local indie, and I can sign it for you. I can personalize it to you. So literally, whatever you want, because they're right in my backyard. Go, I can go in and sign.
I think that's how I might get my copy of The Last Housewife because I
Oh,
got mine at the library, but out of all of your books, I think that's the one I want like physically. I think it was my favorite in so
thank
many
you.
ways. And I would love a personalized like message from you. So Murder by the Books. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to write you a message. So.
Awesome. And everybody stay tuned because we'll be back with another episode next week.